this story is one of those which you read the detail of it and you can't quite believe how strange, how unusual and how sort of sick the actions of this girl were. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very disturbing case. This young woman, Eleanor Williams from Barrow-in-Furness in Cumbria, they first came to public attention when she posted a picture on Facebook. We're going to show that image now. It is rather disturbing because it shows her very bruised up face. She claimed that she was effectively assaulted and raped by a grooming gang of Asian men in Barrow. That prompted, as you would imagine, worldwide outrage. She became the centre of a campaign called Justice for Ellie. Posts were shared by celebrities, including Countdown's Rachel Riley. Money was raised for her. The police investigating it, though, found a lot of inconsistencies in what she was saying. They eventually, in searching her home, actually found a hammer, bloodstained, which they said was used to create those bruises to her face.
Used by herself. She used a hammer on her own face. This was an incredibly thought-through deception.
There's no doubt, yes. Clearly, the lengths that she went to smash her face with a hammer, but also the sort of elaborate stories she made up about how she was groomed. She accused one man, Mohammed Ramzan, a local businessman in Barrow, of grooming her from the age of 12, of selling her, auctioning her off, in a plot, the prosecution said, straight from that Liam Neeson movie Taken, that was all about, you know, trafficking and auctioning off young women, of making her work in a brothel. The prosecution, though, said that the checks that they'd done from the time when she was making these allegations showed that this man, Ramzan, was actually back in Barrow. He was using his card in a B&Q in Barrow at that time. There's others she accused. A young man called Oliver Gardner was accused of rape and trafficking, all kinds of other offences. He had met her for less than a minute on a night out in Preston. They'd been seen on CCTV going down an alley. He said, look, there was a brief sexual encounter. There was no more than a minute. That was supported by the CCTV cameras. So, again, an allegation that just wasn't true. And the really disturbing element to this story as well, there are multiple people that she falsely accused of rape and other sexual offences. 3 of these men, including Mohammed Ramzan, Oliver Gardner, who I mentioned there, and another young man called Justin Trengove, actually went on to try to take their own lives.
Terrible.
Because of the trauma that they suffered, because they were publicly outed.
And that is the whole point, isn't the big argument we have about this, Mark? Should people accused of rape be named until they're either charged or actually convicted?
Yeah, I mean, it's a campaign and an issue that has really raged, and there's never been a satisfactory outcome, really, as far as those who would like to see people that are accused of a very serious offence like this given the same kind of anonymity until prosecution, a successful prosecution. Those on the other side of the argument, of course, prosecutors and the police say it's often clearly very useful to a prosecution case to have names out there, because there can be people who are guilty of perpetrating repeat offences and other victims that are out there, and a single allegation can sometimes be very difficult to prove in the courts. But actually, when you have multiple victims coming forward, that strengthens the case against an individual. It's a very difficult area,
really
but there's no doubt that those accused of very serious offences like rape have their lives turned upside down as well.
So she's found guilty, the actual charges of perverting the course of justice. I imagine that's the worst that they can pin on her. Is there such an offence as sort of false? No, there isn't. Of course there isn't.
It is effectively that.
It can have quite a long sentence, though, for it, I understand.
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt that there will be a custodial sentence added. I mean, one of these young men spent 73 days himself on remand in prison,
sharing a cell with a convicted rapist.
Convicted sex offender.
How does he get that out of his head?
Well, exactly. How do you? Because you know, your life will be forever changed by that experience. And we all know as well, when it comes to issues such as, you know, allegations of sexual offences, even though you can be cleared, as they all have now by this process, they've been cleared, but the allegations are still out there, and there are still people willing to believe that there is
no smoke without fire. That's
absolutely.
That's the
And
cliche, isn't
we're
it?
getting the verdict at about 11:30.
That's the time we're expecting it. Yeah, we should get a bit of background to this case as well. It's going to be televised. So we'll hear from the judge, summing up, really, just before passing sentence, the very real impact that it had on the lives of these men.